to it, and you're going to get a notification that this session is being recorded. Thank you. And again, welcome to the 2024 info session for the Summer Introduction to Undergraduate Research Program. We invite you to introduce yourself in the chat. If you just arrived, say a little bit about yourself and your campus. What we'll go through today is I'll tell you all a little bit about Ganas Graduate, which is the overarching program that puts together and makes possible our summer research program, which we refer to as SIURP. I'll be telling you, myself and my colleagues will be telling you more details about the program itself, what it's like and what you may be expecting. And then we'll be sharing with you details on the application and timeline, deadline information as well. Throughout, there'll be certain points in our time together today where we'll pause for questions, which you can unmic, unmute to ask. You could also ask questions in the chat throughout the session and then at the end. So we have some various checkpoints as far as when we'll want to be addressing your questions, and we hope that makes a good use of your time in any thing that you were wondering gets resolved today. So to get us going, I will continue by telling you then about our program, our initiative called Ganas Graduate Pathways. UC Santa Cruz, like Cal State Monterey Bay, like Hartnell, Cabrillo, and San Jose City College, is a Hispanic serving institution. As part of this designation, we become eligible for funding from different government agencies, including the Department of Education. And that is how we're able to have our Ganas Graduate Grant. And this grant is particularly focused on supporting undergrad students like yourselves to go on to graduate school, and then also in some different initiatives supporting our current graduate students to succeed while they are graduate students and move on to their future careers. In Ganas Graduate specifically, we are looking to address gaps with a lack of representation of Latinx and other underrepresented folks in graduate school. We're looking to support writing proficiency of graduate students, non-academic barriers, and ultimately more graduate degrees, more masters, MFAs, PhDs, et cetera, is what our activities are trying to make a contribution towards. That is how we come to have goals related to increases in each of these areas, and how we hope to be influencing those goals throughout the years is with what we refer to as activities, which I'll tell you very briefly about. Our activities, we have 8 of them. These first 3 are considered pathway initiatives. They're the ones that are for undergraduate students like yourself. You'll see that SIURP is listed right there at the top. You can see a little bit about some of our past participants and our numbers. And then we have 5 other activities where our population to serve is current graduate students. And it's these 5 here that we refer to as degree completion interventions. One really super unique and special factor about SIURP is that we have a collaboration from the point of birth of this program, really, with Cal State Monterey Bay. And to talk a little bit about our collaboration and kind of the strengths that each of our campuses brings to the table, I'm going to invite Natasha Ullman to introduce herself and say a little bit about this.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, we're very excited. I'm Natasha Ullman, coming to you from CSU Monterey Bay. And like I said, we're very excited to work with the UC Santa Cruz team again. This is our 3rd year doing this summer program. Very excited. It's a lovely collaboration between our campus, UC Santa Cruz, and our campus, CSUMB. So it's beautiful. It also, in my experience, has really opened the eyes and the doors wide open to our CSUMB students who may know that UC Santa Cruz is up the street, literally, like in our backyard, but may not have gone to the campus, may not know the amazing doctoral programs and master's programs and graduate studies programs they offer, the amazing faculty, the staff, the amazing support staff that's part of this grant. And so this 2-week summer program gets you in on all of that, and it gets you like just to have that experience of like, what is it like to be on a pretty research intensive campus, in a beautiful scenery overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I'm always like in awe whenever I go there, and really just get a sense of like, seeing like, okay, what would this feel like to be a graduate student here? Because that could be an opportunity, right? It's not your only one, but it could be a wonderful opportunity because it's an amazing school. So I find that anecdotally, as we talk with our students who come back, that's always been the number one thing is like, wow, I had no idea about UC Santa Cruz. I had no idea about the offerings. I had no idea, right? So this particular, I think one of the hallmarks of this particular summer program is that it really does pull the doors wide open, and invites you onto the campus and see all the resources and all of its amazingness. And so that's I think one of the huge strengths. And of course, the second most amazing strength is also working with the researchers, right? I mean, the researchers are having all these amazing projects. I'm always quite in awe of how much the research teams and the folks facilitating the research teams are able to do in 2 weeks. It's super comprehensive. It's a great program to get involved in. You're studying a lot about humanities, social sciences, depending on what the research projects do look like. So it's a really beautiful way, I think, to dip your toes into this research land if you haven't yet. Or if you're kind of trying to figure out like, what is the best thing, what kind of track should I kind of be on? Social sciences, humanities, arts, like the facilitators and the researchers offer such great breadth of programming and research projects to really dive into. So that's really, really exciting. Yes, it's focused on like kind of STEM pathways, but here we are in the arts and humanities. So that's the other, I think, wonderful draw of this particular program is that there's a lot of funding and a lot of opportunities for STEM and for science folks, but for the social science, remember social science is part of STEM. Psychology is recognized by the National Science Foundation as STEM. So that's absolutely important. But the key here is really working with the arts, humanities, and social sciences. So we're really excited again for the third summer to be working with this team, and so we just look forward to it, and we look forward to hearing about all of your successes and what this wonderful program can bring you. Thanks, Sarah.
Sarah, you're muted.
Thanks, everyone. Yes, to follow up on that, as far as our collaboration with CSUMB, that's foundational to this program and has been and continues to be so. We are incorporating students from both campuses, and in the last cycle and this cycle, we are also inviting students currently at the community colleges who we and you hope are going to be at one of our 4-year schools in the fall to be a part of this as well. And it's while it's 2 weeks in the summer that the program takes place, there is just attention and effort that happens really throughout the year. Most in the winter, or what we refer to as winter quarter, which is taking place now, into spring, and of course in the weeks before the program, we continue to make plans and set things up for all of you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Brittany, to say a few words about our learning and other outcomes for the program. And Brittany, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. I'm the Graduate Project Fellow as part of this program. And so our student learning outcomes are essentially just what we're hoping that you take from the program. And some of the things we want to emphasize with these outcomes is that you have no research experience necessary. So we're hoping that you come in with just an open mind about research and to the projects of the graduate fellows. And it's really introduction to research and graduate programs. So as you can see from our learning outcomes, we're just hoping that you all come in and just take something away from this program. And we're open to whatever research means to you as well. And you can go ahead and look through the fellows on the website. We have their projects listed, and go ahead and take a look through those, see what interests you. And yeah, you'll be paired with some really great folks. And thank you. And I think we can go to the next slide about this, but these outcomes are on our website as well if you want to take a look at them. And in addition, here are some of the other things that we want to emphasize to you all. And one of the key things is that we also want to note that you are not required to go to grad school at UCSC if by doing this program. You're not tying yourself to the campus and that you have to be here. It just happens to have the graduate students from this campus. It's awesome if you want to consider UCSC, but you're definitely not required to. And it's just really about being in community with other motivated scholars. You have graduate student mentors that you get to learn from, faculty, staff, everyone in HSI is a great member of the team. And at this period of time, we're kind of hoping that you'll create plans for next steps to take what you learn in SIURP and see how you want to use it going forward. And a little bit of overview about the program is that it's going to run this year from July 14th to July 17th. So it's 2 weeks during summer, full-time residential program at the UCSC campus. So you'll be living in one of the housing communities on campus. Up to 25 undergraduate students will participate. And that for us, that's a combination of UCSC and CSUMB students and incoming transfers from SJCC, Cabrillo, and Hartnell. And you will receive compensation, which is always nice. And it's about $600. And so those are just some of the perks that come from the program, along with like the social mentoring and things like that. So these are our requirements, but you're still able to apply even if you don't feel like you totally fit in here. So we're seeking students from arts, humanities, and social sciences majors with research areas of interest. Full-time commitment, again, this does conflict with summer classes, so we want you to be aware of that before committing to the program, is that we really are expecting that you'll be involved the whole time. And again, it's 2 weeks in the summer, so just make sure you have that time period blocked off and accommodating for classes, travel, study abroad, and work. And as I said, our prospective transfer students are eligible to apply. I'm so glad to see so many of y'all in the chat. Recent colleges you could have attended are Cabrillo, Hartnell, and San Jose City. And you're eligible if you applied for transfer admission to UCSC or CSUMB for the fall 2024 term. And you can apply either through UCSC or CSUMB by creating an info-ready account on where you'll go, and it'll be linked to our websites. And same discipline criteria for transfer students is arts, humanities, and social sciences emphasis. And I believe Maria is dropping the info-ready into the chat. And I will go ahead and pass it back to Sarah, who's going to talk a little bit about what to expect from the program.
Thank you, Brittany. Absolutely. So in those 2 weeks, right, that you all would be on campus in the program, what you can expect, what you'll be experiencing is, here you see it listed as mentorship. Yes, it is that, but it is building interpersonal relationships, building relationships with your assigned mentor, as well as the other mentors, your group members. Some of the also shared outcomes of the program that participants have shared back with us is the incredible friendships that they've made throughout this experience. It's definitely a bonus outcome. What you experience on a day-to-day basis is, again, thinking about it as being almost your full-time commitment, your full-time job for these 2 weeks. You're experiencing workshops, presentations, panels as a part of these activities. You're in breakout groups, or you're doing some small group work, sharing with a colleague, a partner in the group, talking through different activities. Again, because we want you to expose you, we want you to start getting practice in these different approaches, research methods, etc. It's an introduction to research, both theoretically, conceptually, regarding methods, regarding a little bit about research ethics, things like that. And then an introductory experience for you all with research. It is not a long-term research initiative or research project. You'll be working with your mentor on the topic for these 2 weeks exclusively, with perhaps a little bit of work, a little bit of pre-reading, pre-meetings, etc., that can happen before the program. But you're working together again on the projects that you'll hear a little bit more about in a second. Networking, that's again part of that, getting to know people, meeting people, the students in the program. We also quite specifically have a networking event where we invite additional faculty and staff to come come meet you, for you to ask them questions and so forth. You get to check out different parts of campus is something that we've incorporated in past years, such as some of our resources within our library. Also, we are, as far as UC Santa Cruz, we're located in a redwood forest. So you get to hopefully take some hikes, some mini hikes, and really experience that part of what our campus is about as well, which connects to our fun and social activities. We intentionally disperse those throughout the 2 weeks as well. Here you see what's become one of our signature social activities, which is our bonfire at the end of the program. And one other big takeaway, right? Something that you get to talk about, write about, put on your resume at the end of this program is that you're part of a short intensive group project, and you and your group, with the help of your mentor, will be giving a brief talk, a brief presentation about your project. And that's a really exciting part of the program as well. As Brittany mentioned, you do receive $600 for your participation. We break that up into 2 parts, one part before the program, one part after. If you're a Santa Cruz student, you get that paid through financial aid. If you're incoming transfer to UCSC, your first payment goes to you directly, and the same thing for our CSUMB students. As well, we get those funds to you directly, either through a paper check or a direct deposit. And these funds are intended to support you in a really wide sense of the word. You can use them directly towards the program, right? If you need to travel here, or buy if you feel like you need to buy some supplies or just some things for you to be more comfortable during the 2 weeks, you can do that, as much as, it can be used to offset any expenses that you may have in your schooling, in your life, your own commitments, etc. We're just trying to support you with this financial contribution. So at this time, in a second, Brittany is going to start going over some of the details of the application, but we are open to pausing for any questions. And again, you can always put those in the chat throughout. Team, if we've already got a question in there that we missed, let me know. But if you'd also like to unmute and ask your question, you're welcome to do so.
Hi, Sarah. One of the questions that I received is asking, alongside this, is it possible to take classes either in session 1 or 2 during the summer?
If you're referring to UCSC session 1 or 2 summer session, the session that overlaps with the program, my directive is that it's not possible, because you're going to be short either on the class or on the program. You cannot properly give your attention to both of them. But I'm looking for a head nod as far as, I think session 2 is the one that starts after. Yes, thank you to my grad students who are probably teaching during session 2. So session 2 would work out just fine. And if you're on campus, if you plan to do an in-person class during session 2, you could move from our SIURP housing to your on-campus summer housing. That we've seen that happen before. So yeah. Other questions at this time? Yeah, feel free to keep those coming as whenever they pop onto your mind. And then we're going to be putting a document in the chat that previews the application, so you can follow along. And then, thank you, Maria. I'll turn it back to Brittany.
Thank you, Sarah. So we're just gonna go over the application a little bit, and then there will also be more time to ask questions at the end in case folks have questions about the application itself. So the deadline is March 11th, 2024, and you have access through InfoReady. You can log in with UCSC or CSUMB credentials, and if you're a transfer student, you're able to create an account on either of those servers. And so we put in the chat the preview document, and it's demographic questions and then long response questions, and we'll just go a little bit through it right now. So the demographic questions are just kind of the basic questions of your name, email, class level, major or intended major if you're an incoming transfer, first generation status, and your GPAs. And then these are the long response questions. So we have the preview document in the chat. Encourage you to just kind of scroll through it and see the questions. One distinction we did want to make was for our CSUMB applicants, you do have a reference letter that is required. So I will list in the chat some of what you might want your letter recommender to address. But yeah, these are just kind of questions that reflect on how you might want to contribute to SIURP, what you're looking to take from it, as well as ranking the projects that the mentors have listed. That way we can kind of accommodate you to be in a research group that aligns with some of your interests. The mentors will be able to talk a little bit later about their project interests and what they're hoping that you'll gain from this.
And that later is now, I think there's some animation. Let's find out because Anthony's supposed to go first. I don't know. There we go. Anthony, welcome, please, and tell us about yourself and your project.
Hey, yo, good to see everyone this morning. My name's Anthony Bencomo. I'm originally from Fresno, which I feel obligated to say before every meeting. I started at Fresno City College, so like many of y'all, I was a transfer student, and I've attended community college. I've attended CSUs for my bachelor's and master's degree, and currently I'm a PhD student in the politics department here at UC Santa Cruz, which is just the Santa Cruzian way of saying political science. And I'm really excited to see so many political science people in the chat. Please reach out to me. I know there's 2 undergrad programs for political science from the American Political Science Association that I'm happy to tell y'all about, that I received 2 of their awards as a graduate. And yeah, please reach out. Yeah, but I'm really excited to be here. I was part of the program last year and really excited to be doing it again. For my dissertation research, I examined efforts at police reform, and just to be frank, why police reform failed, right? Why nothing came of it after this huge Herculean effort in Fresno. But for this Ganas in SIURP, what I'll be focusing on is the construction of gang treaties, peace treaties between street gangs. Over the 2 weeks, the people in the group I'm working with will interview activists and community organizers to see what makes gang treaties work, what's effective, why do they work, why do they not work, and what's the process, what does it take to put these in place? Yeah, and I'm really excited to see y'all, and I really hope many of y'all apply to the program and we get to work together.
Thank you, Anthony, and welcome, Lalu.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lalu. I am a 5th-year PhD candidate in film and digital media, and I'm also having my designated emphasis in CRES and feminist studies. It's going to be my 3rd time mentoring in Ganas. I'm originally from Turkey. I grew up there. I studied economics as my bachelor's and then continued with film studies and now with film PhD. I'm in a program that is called like art practice PhD or research creation or practice research creative praxis. It has many meanings, but basically it is an art PhD that you can graduate with a creative piece and a substantial written component. And I'm working on porn movie theaters in Turkey and how trans folks were using that space to build community, to watch porn, to engage with sex work. And this year, in my mentor group, my work is gonna be about found footage. So how we're gonna hopefully have a small technical training during spring online, and we will be editing some found footage and sound during our 2 weeks in Ganas this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalu, and welcome, M.
Hi, everyone. Nice to get to know a lot of you all in the comments. My name, yeah, I'm a fifth year in the, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm a fifth year in the Feminist Studies PhD program, as well as I've got designated emphasis in critical race and ethnic studies, or CREST. Like Anthony, I also transferred from a community college to a four-year university. I transferred to UCLA before starting my doctoral studies here at UC Santa Cruz. And I also should say that just because I'm incredibly proud of, I'm from Boyle Heights, California, East LA. So I like putting that out there because, like Anthony, I like to make a point of it. Makes me very happy. Yeah, and so for my research, I study and trans legislation, and more specifically, actually, military policy, like trans inclusive military policy that kind of started up in 2016. And one of the major actually is my focus on the Latinx soldiering figure, right? I study the experiences of trans Latinx soldiers in the US military and how gender identity comes into play through service and in social cultural sites, like, you know, in the home life, in like, you know, communities of origin, things of that sort. And so for the project that I'll be sort of hoping to take on with some of you over the summer, over the course of 2 weeks, also focuses on anti-trans and queer legislation, right? This introductory kind of anti-trans legislation and policy is sort of to get students to start thinking about legislation and policy interdisciplinarily, right? So we're gonna analyze these policies and these bits of legislation, understand how to read these documents, and then think about them comparatively, right? Like, how is it that the media talks about legislation and policy, and what can we take from these depictions, understand maybe what the legalities of some of these people affected by the policies are, so trans and queer people in the United States. And if we get to it, one of the sort of very small kind of qualitative aspects might be to interview some of the folks at TLC, the Transgender Law, to think more about like the maybe the institutional effects of anti-trans and queer legislation from the perspective of those who help mitigate its negative effects, right? So we're thinking interdisciplinarily with my project. But again, looking forward to this.
Thanks, Em, and welcome to your first SIURP. So we're glad to have you. Next, we're going to have Kat and then Grace. And Kat, you're up.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Like Lalu, I'm also returning for my third year. I've been with SIURP since the beginning, so it's really special. And it's really special. It holds a really special place in my heart, especially all the students I've met throughout this program, I've got to work with. I'm a fifth year grad student in the psychology program, specifically social psychology. We have 3 areas here at UCSC. My work does tend to focus around understanding how marginalized students both navigate higher education, but also resist dominant narratives and messages about themselves and their communities. Really the reason to center research-informed strategies in the voices of students of color, marginalized students. That's really at the heart of what I do. This project in particular, my lab does a lot of work around belonging, and we have a lot of responses specifically to a question asking students at UCSC, what does it mean to belong on campus? And it's a question that we're interested in, looking at UCSC being a Hispanic serving institution and knowing what is important for students here, like at UCSC when it comes to belonging. There's a lot of frameworks on it, a lot of ideas of what belonging can look like, but specifically through the lens of a framework called Servingness, is which we're going to use, is what we're going to do with this project, is looking at open-ended responses, coding them. You don't have to know what that means. You don't have to know any of what this language means. We'll do it together. But I really just am really excited to get you all into this project and hearing from students who are looking at these responses. What does it mean to belong as well? Because I'm a grad student, which is really great to have, like, you know, access to maybe literature or my advisor, but really at the heart of this is students and student voices, which is really great to have you all. So that's a little bit about the project, which we're going to work on. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be in SIURP again. So
Thank you, Kat. And Grace, you're next. Good morning.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Grace. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also from Los Angeles, specifically Koreatown. I'm a second year in the literature department, and I'm in a specific concentration. It's called a creative critical concentration, which is a hybrid program where we work on a creative project, but also do research on literary projects. I'm also doing a designated emphasis, sorry, in critical race and ethnic studies. Before coming to graduate school, I was a librarian in special collections. So part of the project that I want to do with SIURP is related to thinking about archival histories, and in particular, the absences in archives, and how a creative critical methodology can re-engage with complicated histories. So my group will work on a project that may become poetry or visual work or prose, just re-engaging with some kind of archival material. What else? This is my second year in the SIURP program. And I'm hoping that this creative critical methodology can be useful to different majors outside of literature. I think, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Grace. And I think that's a good just opportunity. Thank you all mentors for sharing about yourself and your projects. A good opportunity to pause. Students, I encourage you to take a second and see if you have any questions about the mentors and their disciplines, a little bit about their projects that they've put out there. Again, just a friendly conversation that we're having, especially if you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, and I want to know more about that. I'm gonna Google it after this session anyway. But if you need any tips, we can just take a moment, a pause, and see if anybody has questions. On the document that we create regarding the mentors and their projects, their contact information is available there too, if you have some questions as you decide on which project you want to preference and so forth. But we hope that you're open to a couple of them. Yeah. Okay. Oh, great question. How will mentors be determined? So when students complete the application, you rank the projects that you're, in order of the one you would most, starting with the one you would most like to be a part of. And then you tell us a little bit about the projects that you prefer as well. So you do have an opportunity to give a little bit of an explanation. And then as part of the selection process, you get placed with a mentor based on what you've told us and the projects and availability. Other questions? Well, I'll keep going, and of course, we'll have another moment for questions here coming up. So final application tips, again, the full details on requirements and qualifications can be found on the SIURP website that's been shared in the chat, and we'll be sharing it again before we close out. There it is. The emphasis, once again, being on arts, humanities, and social science interests. So even if you're not sure if your major falls into one of these areas, or it definitely doesn't, if you're passionate about one or more of these topics, or you see yourself going to grad school for an area within arts, humanities, or social sciences, or just want to explore that, your job is to tell us about that in the application. Tell us more about yourself and these interests of yours so that you can be considered. Another takeaway for today is to to be available for the entire in-person duration of the program on campus, on the UCSC campus. That's an important takeaway. And we're really looking to bring students once again on board that can benefit from the experience. So big emphasis there on, as you know, appropriately mentors. And so like to point out words and terminology that you've heard here today or that you read in the descriptions, you don't have to be familiar with. The whole initiative is so that you can learn more about research and these different concepts, so that you'll experience some growth during the program in these ways. So we want to see that you're able to benefit from the program. On the next slide here, we have a couple of student testimonies regarding their experiences with our program in the past. You can see these quotes again on the screen on the slide. Just a couple of other tidbits. We've had this program 2 summers already, 2022, 2023. This will be our 3rd summer. Our students, one of the biggest takeaways that you start to see from the students who participate is that they continue in research. In some cases, it has been with their mentor. If room or an opportunity exists, that has happened. It happens naturally, so to speak. Otherwise, what we are doing as a part of this program is setting you up with tools, resources, and really confidence. Increased confidence for you to email professors or email grad students to learn more about their research and to say, hey, how can I be a part of this as well? So our students definitely tend to continue in research. And now that we've done the program, it's been 2 years since the first one, we have already started to see and hear back from program alumni that they've of course applied to graduate school and they're starting to be admitted, and some of them will be attending their first year of grad school this coming fall 2024. So that's a really exciting anecdote that we get to share, and that's why we're here to encourage you to learn, have an experience, and many of you follow in their footsteps one day too. Okay, so keep thinking about questions that are coming to mind as we start to close out. There is a question I've got in the chat that I will address. One more thing, since you knew this was happening, you came to the info session, you're ready to learn about the program. If you haven't already gone to InfoReady or gone to the application, now is a good time. If you're logged in to this Zoom, go over to the InfoReady application, make sure you can log in. And then if you feel like you're having trouble, stick on the Zoom after we pause the recording and we'll help you troubleshoot. Okay, a couple of questions that are coming in are, one, in the application, there's a space to include your research experience. The question asks, do you have past research experience? Yes or no? And then if you do, if you say yes, please tell us a little bit about it. So the question really is, does that mean you're looking for someone for students who have experience? So it's actually the opposite. If someone has extensive research experience, that's a student who won't benefit very greatly from this program compared to a student who has no research experience. So it's 0 disadvantage if you have no research experience. Think about it in our title, it's an introduction to research program. We want you to be curious, committed, open, flexible, and that's what we're looking for. So 0 disadvantage if you have no research experience. Another question that you all can see is, how and when will we know if we are accepted into the program, especially as a transfer student who has not been accepted to, I think you're saying, to the campus. You will know about SIURP between the 1st and 2nd week of April, if I can think about off the top of my head. And then transfer admissions may start to go out like late March into April as well. But you will know about SIURP by or before even you know about your transfer admission. Also, just for our potential incoming transfers, even if you decide to go to a different campus, if SIURP if it still works for you to be with us for SIURP for those 2 weeks, we're still open to having you, like you're still under consideration. It's not necessarily only if you got admitted, because of, we don't know. The transfer admissions decisions haven't been communicated yet. So we want to give you confidence that whether you're admitted to one of our campuses or not, we can still consider you for the program. Yeah, so regarding what hours during the day and work, it would not be ideal to have employment, any kind of shift during the 2 weeks of the program. It's really intended to be on site, on campus. But the most active activities, right, the heaviest or with the greatest emphasis happen between 9 and 5. What happens during those other hours, though, of course, there's your 3 meals a day, there's the social activities. There might be time that you independently or with other members of your group might be working on your project. So it's not an ideal situation to have a commitment like, we alluded to earlier around classes or a job, but if you want to talk about that further, you can stay on the Zoom and we can schedule a time to talk or maybe even chat about it if you're comfortable with that. Okay, keep the questions coming. One advertisement as a part of this session is tomorrow, if you're at UC Santa Cruz or can make it here during the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m., we're welcoming in person the authors of the Latinx Guide to Graduate School. We'll have more than 30 copies of the book available. If you don't already have a copy yourself, you can ask them questions, get it signed, and we're really excited to bring this event in collaboration with many co-sponsors in El Centro to life tomorrow. So hope to see many of you there. If you do go, come say hi. Say hi, I was in the info session yesterday. All right, let's continue with the questions in the chat, or you can unmute to ask questions. Mentors, if there's anything that you said, oh, I wanted to share, I forgot to share this, that, or the other, or any final words that you have, you're welcome to share those now. Hearing none, I'm going to say this is going to conclude our info session. I'm going to ask that we stop the recording.